Hey, it's Jeffrey Gurian here for Comedy Matters TV on the Be Terrific Network, and I'm up in Montreal at the Just for Laughs Festival, and we're here for the junket for CNN's History of Comedy with W.Kamau Bell, my old buddy.
That's right.
And Mark Herzog, the producer. How are you guys?
Nice to meet you, Jeffrey.
Good. Nice to meet you too. First of all, it's a fantastic show, and I understand that it relaunched, I think it was July 16th.
Mm-hmm.
Why did it have to relaunch?
Well, it's on a breaking news network called CNN, and there was breaking news, or so you would think. No, there was breaking news for about 4 straight weeks. So three episodes there, it was great. It got, I think, a lot of attention, pretty good ratings, and people, I think, it was catching on greatly. And then, you know, some tweets happened and the breaking news happened. So it was a really good decision by CNN to pull it from the network and find a different night and a different time. So we're on Sunday nights, not Thursday nights. Sunday nights, there's still a preemptible night, but it's also, I think, maybe a good time people are... Maybe there aren't as many tweets that day.
Yeah, even the people who are super excited about tweeting take a break on Sunday night. So yeah, so my show is on Sunday night too. I've only been preempted twice. So yeah.
United Shades of America.
Yes,
right?
sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, and you tend to do like, I mean, even though you're such a funny stand-up comic, you tend to do like serious stuff on the air. Yeah. But you mix comedy in with it, a comedic point of view. Can you tell us for a moment about United Shades of America, being that it's also on CNN?
Well, yeah, I mean, CNN has been a great partner for it because even though I'm a comedian, they want me to approach things seriously the way I want to approach things. So I'm a comedian who is in these places, but whatever happens in these places, I'm going to respond to as a human. You know, I tend to be a human first. Some comedians aren't that way.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Very good point.
I'm not always on. I'm not even on right now. But yeah, so I mean, that's what's great about even the history of comedy is that you could do that on their network and they might want it to be funnier, but because CNN's like, no, we just want it to be smart, and funny is a part of smart. So you can approach things like with the Spark of Madness episode, like something that's really serious, but because it's about comedy, it still qualifies as a comedy show.
And you're so right about funny being a part of smart, because you have to be intelligent. Well, first of all, comedy carries a message, I think, a lot easier than something dramatic. People tend to turn out to news, but if you can put a funny spin on it somehow, which I think why is the late night shows are so popular, people doing news in a funny way, you know, and it carries a message. People need to laugh. We're in a very sad state, you know.
Yes.
and people need humor.
Well, currently we're in a happier country.
Up here.
Yeah.
A really good-looking prime minister.
Yeah. Oh, so are you Canadian?
I'm not.
Okay. You are a Primetime Emmy Award winner. How did you get drawn to do this show? What was the inspiration for you to look into the history of comedy?
Our partners, my partners are Todd Milner and Sean Hayes. And Todd and Sean have a company called Hazy Mills. And Hazy Mills, they were going to CNN to pitch something. They didn't know what they were going to pitch. And at the same time, 2 people, Todd and Dan Begley, who's a development person for him, said, let's do the 60s. It's another series I do for CNN, but for comedy. And they said yes, and they went in and pitched it to a guy named John Adler, and it started from there. So they hooked us up. Hazy Mills came and found us through CNN, and we spent about 3 months developing the idea of it. And I think the thing that sort of cracked the code was that we decided to do it thematically. So we looked at different types of comedy. That was easier to do, and than trying to do chronologically. You could never do it that way.
I was going to ask you about that because I always wondered if there was comedy in biblical times. Have you ever thought of that? You know, like, who's the first funny guy on the planet? Who told the very first joke? Was it Moses, you know? No?
The snake was pretty funny.
Yeah.
Some guy's wife got turned into a pillar of salt, and he had high blood pressure, which was horrible. Right? It's a bad state.
I think Millions of Frogs going down the street is a really funny.
I bet Sodom and Gomorrah had great comedy clubs.
I used to write for the Friars Roast, and I always wanted to do like the first biblical roast. You know what I mean? I think that would be a funny concept. Maybe we should pitch that to CNN and see if they want to do it. So, did you have a comedy background before you?
I actually used to be an improv comedian. Yes.
I was going to ask you.
I used to be funny. Yeah, I actually studied theater, and I was an improv comedian for a long time. A lot of my friends went on to have careers in Second City and things like that. Bonnie Hunt was part of my group, and so was Joan Cusack, and several other people. I ended up at the same time starting to produce things and working in the field of production. I ended up finding that more rewarding, and so I kind of broke off. But yeah, I've been a history of comedy freak all my life. I mean, from SNL to George Carlin to Robert Klein back in the 70s, Lily Tomlin. I mean, as early as I can remember, I was laughing. I literally saw every laughing show when I was 5 years old. So, yeah.
That was a groundbreaking show, by the way.
Yeah.
With Goldie Hawn and people popping out of doors.
Judy Carn.
Judy Carn.
Yeah.
I actually have a photo of Judy Carn. A lot of people may not know who she was these days, but she was fantastic in those days. Yeah. And you know, and so it's interesting that people with a love for comedy, it usually starts when you're a kid. It's not usually something that you develop as an adult. How about you? Were you funny as a kid?
I mean, I think so. My mom says I was, but you know, like funny is subjective. But yeah, I was an only child, so I was always in my head, and I used to watch. My mom said she could get me to do anything if she let me stay up and watch Saturday Night Live. So I was totally like, been watching Saturday Night Live since the early days. And so for me, I always watched late night comedy. I remember Seinfeld when he was on the Tonight Show with Johnny Carson. You know, so I really feel like my life has been, following comedy. Is like a lot of black men my age were following hip hop. I was following stand up.
Isn't that something?
Yeah.
And how unbelievable that SNL's on for 43 years. Is that incredible?
Yeah, I mean, it's clearly just going to go until Lorne Michaels decides he doesn't want to do it, or because it's just like that. You can't. Nobody's even trying to program against it. It's just and as we know, when the times are more hectic and political, SNL really rises above. So I mean, this is right now like they're sort of going through.
And
all the other, the Fridays that came along and went away, the Living Colors that came along and went away.
SCTV, we're in Canada, them shout out,
It's still there. It's great. I'm personally one of the people who, I know people sit there and say, oh, SNL's not funny this year, the cast and like that. I've never not thought it was funny. There are always moments and gems, you know?
Yeah. Well, anybody who knows comedy knows everything can kill.
Right.
Yeah.
Some things, they look funny on paper, and then for some reason, the energy changes when you actually perform it. And some things that you don't expect to be funny are hilarious when people see it, which is, as a stand-up comic, you experience that on a nightly basis.
Yeah, I experienced it last night at the early show. I thought it was funny, but they did not agree.
Isn't that something? And it's usually up to them.
Yeah, I feel like we just have to agree to disagree, but we should never meet again, is how I feel about it.
Probably. Let's not exchange numbers. Yeah. So the fact that you couldn't do it chronologically, that's why you do it by topic, right? What's your research process like? Because it must be incredible.
We have a deep team, and that's a good way to say it, of associate producers and researchers and clearance people. We have producers who know comedy. We made sure that we hired people who knew great comedy, and we just start digging and start looking back at. First of all, read a lot of books. Cliff Nesteroff, who's going to be here, wrote a great book, and we certainly use that as research. He's a consultant on the series. And you just start digging and start looking for great stuff. And you want to show them pieces of material of comedy they might not have seen or maybe don't remember. We were talking earlier about the fact that I never really knew who Jean Carroll was, and I've gotten to know how great she was and how funny she was as a really good stand-up in the 40s and 50s before she stopped. Great, interesting, and hopefully we can find more comics that people hadn't known about. We do an entire episode on Mort Saul, and when it aired, a whole bunch of people said, "I never heard of this guy."
Isn't that amazing? Look, Milton Berle was my sponsor in the Friars Club, and a lot of people do not know who Milton Berle was these days, and it boggles my mind.
And
Mr.
Mort's
Television
still working. Mort's all still working. He lives in Marin County. He still does shows.
I know. Yeah.
And it's amazing that they have longevity. So many of them lived into their 90s. Berle was 93, Henny Youngman was 91, George Burns was 100, and Bob Hope was 100. And Do you think there's something about comedy that adds to people's lives, about laughing and, you know?
Maybe. I do know that we have Carl Reiner and Betty White in our show, and both are in their 90s. And
Mel Brooks is 90.
Yeah, he's not in our show, but his comedy's in our show. But they're still very funny, you know, at 94.
Yeah, it's amazing, right? And Mel said, well, he and Carl still meet for lunch every day, supposedly.
Yeah.
And once you have that comedy thing, it doesn't go away. I don't think it matters how old you are.
Have you seen Carl's documentary on HBO?
No, I haven't.
Oh, it's great. It's he basically only interviews people over 90.
I read about it. Yeah.
It's called "If Your Name's Not in the Obits, Have Breakfast." And he interviews Betty White, Dick Van Dyke, Mel Brooks, Norman Lear, and people outside of comedy as well. A lot of people in the arts. It's a great documentary.
Was there anybody that you wanted? Well, let me ask you this first. Did you do anything on comedy clubs?
We didn't do anything on comedy clubs. We certainly focused on a lot of stand-up comedy, for sure, but we did not necessarily do some on clubs. So it's funny, we have a second season coming up next year. Mm-hmm. We went through a million different topics. That was one of the topics. It's not going to be one of the things we do for next year, but maybe if we do season 3.
Yeah, because, you know, it's always been interesting to me, like, until Bud Friedman opened the Improv in '63, there was no such thing as a comedy club. Comedians performed in other venues and
like Playboy Club or something like that.
Yeah, something like that. And then he opened it as a coffee shop, and then found out people liked comedy and turned it into the world's first comedy club.
Yeah.
And then it wasn't until Rick Newman came along and opened Catch a Rising Star at the end of '72, and then the comic strip in 1976.
Yeah.
So those really changed the face of comedy in general and what people could go out to see for entertainment.
And I always think it's interesting that certain comics only play certain clubs. You know, they don't play. It's like you're part of that clan. Well, I'm an improv guy, or I'm
yeah.
Yeah, and comedians look at clubs as their home clubs, where they feel comfortable, and they hang out there. And it's that way in New York. You know, there's like probably 12 clubs right now, plus the alternative venues, where comics hang out and they feel comfortable being in their own turf. And groups of comics all hang out there. I cover the comedy scene, so I'm very aware of that.
Yeah.
And it's an amazing phenomenon. You're doing a lot up here this week in Montreal. You're giving an award tomorrow on the red carpet.
Thanks for reminding me. Oh man,
That's right. I'm going to be there to interview you about that.
Yeah.
You're giving the award to Ali Wong?
Ali Wong, I think it's Breakout Comedian of the Year.
For her special.
Yeah, and I've known Ali since she started doing comedy, so I mean, for me, it's great that she would ask me to do it, because I just feel like, I mean, I didn't meet her the first day, but I sort of just remember her being this young comic at the back of the club, and there was no doubt she was going to make it. No, I don't think we envisioned how big it was going to be. I mean, you know, she certainly passed me by. I'm looking to open for her. But and it's also the thing comedy needs is more unique voices, more voices outside of the mainstream.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, I want to thank you guys for coming on. I wish you the best. Can you say one more time when people can see the show?
Yeah, The History of Comedy is on CNN at 10 o'clock Eastern. And for the next 3 weeks...
It's the only time that counts, anyway.
Yeah, for the next 3 weeks.
Sundays.
On Sundays, I apologize. On Sundays. And then next year as well, hopefully.
Great. Well, thank you so much.
Thanks, Ken.
I wish you the best of luck with it.
Thank you. Good to see you.
Great to see you, man. Yeah. Absolutely. You heard it right here on Comedy Matters TV on the Be Terrific Network. Make sure to tune in. Thank you. Hey guys, thanks for watching Comedy Matters TV. To check out some of our other videos, click on the boxes on either side of me. And don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Not just for me, but for my parents.